Welcome to the boxing match to decide the fate of film as we know it. You might have thought it would be Rocky. You might have thought Raging Bull. You might even have thought $1 Million Baby. But no, in the red corner, wearing red and black trunks is... In the other corner, wearing many different trousers all at the same time, it's... and all their friends. So without any further ado, let's get ready to rumble! Good evening and welcome to Netflix vs. Cinema. My name is Tosin. I am your host and I shall be taking you through the next hour or so as we talk about this great boxing match that is coming to decide the fate of film as we know it. With me, based on the Isle of Wight, are Sharon.
Hello.
And Sean.
Hiya.
Right, yes. Now, these are my good friends. Happy New Year, guys. Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you, Toast.
Yeah. Yes, I know. It's been ages since we've actually spoken. I feel like it's been absolutely... I feel like it's been ages. So it's so good to hear you guys.
It's too long.
Yes, I know. And now, this is... So, we decided that what we're going to do with this show, because we've done a couple of podcasts, haven't we, all together?
Yes.
Yeah, because
we've had a variety.
We've had lots of different. Yeah, we've had some adventures. Really, you could call them adventures.
Going back a couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's actually because I was actually listening through to some of our back catalogue, and I was actually getting a bit teary-eyed at some of the stuff that we've done, because the first thing we did was a show called They Don't Make Him Like They Used To, which is where we were looking back. We're looking back in time, and we're looking at pre-1980 movies and fawning over how lovely they were, and harking back to a golden age of cinema, where cinema was like, the best show in town. Then we did a show that has just gone sort of like, that was a straight-up film review show where we just went to the cinema every single week. We watched films and we just said what we thought about them. And now we seem to just be going forward in time, because now we've jumped one step on from that, because Zeb, who isn't with us today because he is studying for exams, it kind of tells you what his age is and tells you how this all came about. He's studying for exams, and when we were doing the film review show on Vectis Radio, Zeb kept saying, what about things on Netflix? What about those people who can't get up and go to the cinema? How about that? And we started realizing that all of a sudden this whole Netflix thing was becoming more and more of a player. I mean, if you hadn't already seen that, like, it was becoming more and more of a player, and we couldn't just sit down and go, no, film, cinema anymore. And so we decided to have a show in which we talked Netflix versus cinema. Isn't that right, guys?
Yes.
That's right, yeah.
And I think as well for students and for people who are maybe on a fixed income, going to the cinema can be quite a costly expedition if you don't have like a membership card that allows you to go as many times as you like. One trip to the cinema, if you buy a drink or something, can cost you £10 a time, whereas that will buy you a month's worth of Netflix, won't it?
It's true.
So it was a case of, actually for some of the younger people who listen, and they listen to podcasts, they're going to be more interested in what they see all the time and what's more accessible to them. So it broadens our listenership, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, I'm sort of hoping in the way that maybe cinema will go to like it was when I was younger, and it'd become an event more than, because for me, the multiplexes, they're okay and they're good to see a film, but there's quite a few films you could see at the cinema that would quite easily transition to TV.
Yes, and there's still some things you have to see on a big screen. But
there's some movies that you do have to see on a big screen, so...
Because for that immersive experience, because at home you've got people coming and going, you can hear, well, in my house, you can hear the television that's on in the other room.
You can make yourself a cup of tea.
And you can, there's always something going on. Whereas in the cinema, the lights are down, the noise is down. Most people restrict the rustling of their popcorn to a dull roar, and then you can actually immerse yourself in what's going on in front of you. And some films absolutely need that.
I must, sometimes as well, going to the cinema, I don't know if you've experienced this, sometimes you can get quite emotional. Much
totally.
More than TV, I think. Sometimes you can almost have a
You're tearing up.
Tear in your eye. You're thinking, "Oh my goodness me!"
Well, I'm always tearing up at the cinema.
Yeah. So
I think it was because you're so focused on what you're seeing.
I think so.
Your emotions, your thoughts aren't occupied with anything else, or Because often when I'm watching the television, I normally have a book on one side, I've got a bit of sewing on the other, I've got a bit of, pack of sweets with me, and you're not completely immersed in what you're seeing. So even though I do get emotionally involved in what I'm seeing, sometimes it hasn't the same at all by any means as what I see, at the flicks.
At the flicks, yeah. At the flicks.
Well,
as I say, I find myself. Yeah, sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say.
Toast, yeah.
I was just going to say. I agree with you guys, because going on with this whole boxing match thing, I was thinking about it, and I was thinking, it really is actually kind of like a boxing match. You have like these two big things, and they're sort of like duking it out, but they're a bit different, because I feel like cinema is a bit like a heavyweight. It's kind of like this big thing. It's been there for ages. It's not able to move that quickly, and Netflix is able to sort of like dart in and out and change things really quickly and all that kind of stuff. And so it's really interesting. It's really interesting to see what's going to happen, because I know Hollywood is freaking out all the time about, how are we going to get people back into the cinemas? How are we going to get people back into the cinemas? And they're fighting against Netflix. They don't want Netflix to compete at things like the Cannes Film Festival for the Palme d'Or. They say, no, it's cinema. It must be on a big screen if it's going to be cinema. And it's interesting. It's interesting. So what we decided to do in our own way, because we might not have the best, intellectual approach to it or anything like that, but we're just going to watch stuff. We're just going to watch what's available on Netflix. We're going to watch what's available at cinema each week, and we're going to come back in and we're going to be like, right, which one gave us the better time this week? And from that point on, we're just going to go forward and say, all right, cool, what we got going. Does that sound good to you guys?
That sounds fair
good
to me.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good.
Okay, sure. Did I cut you off earlier? Did I cut you off from saying something?
You probably did, but it doesn't really matter, because I think I was just so.
We'll make up for it.
Yeah, we'll make up for it. We'll make up for it, definitely. Yeah, no, that's okay. That's fine.
Okay, cool. So I spent most of today actually coming up with a wonderfully over the top 80s sort of like fighting intro, which Sean has already told me might be a little bit too long, but I
was thinking it's.
Go on, Sharon, what was your...
It reminds me almost of like MMA, mixed martial arts fighting, because you do get like the heavyweights, and you get these little bantamweight guys who are like Bruce Lee, who are paired up against each other, but you can't guarantee the outcome, because sometimes there's sort of little bite the Bruce Lee guy can take down, Rocky Balboa, because of they're just not on the similar. They're in the same ring, but they're not. Yeah, fighting by the same rules.
Yeah, once again, Sharon, you have taken my ramblings and made them into something eloquent and intelligent.
Made some sense, yeah. Made some sense out of the ramblings.
Made some sense out of the ramblings. So I don't actually, I don't know what it is. I'm not entirely sure what films it is that we've all seen, but we're just going to go ahead with it and see what we can come up with this week. And I want to say thank you to the 6 people who subscribed to us already on the strength or weakness, however you look at it, of our opening episode. So thank you so much.
Well, that's a fist plus 1, isn't it? So we can do some punching with that.
Yes. You are getting into this boxing thing. I like it.
Yeah, really.
All right, cool. So what have we seen? Because this might be a bit of a bumper one, because we haven't seen each other since before Christmas. We're recording this thing on the 10th of January, I believe it is. So so there might have been a couple of films that have actually sort of like shoved their way in there. So what we seen, Sean, you want to head off first?
So, yeah, I can start off. Well, the films I've seen past couple of weeks was The Favourite.
Ooh.
The Favourite, yeah, and Welcome to Marwen.
Okay.
Well, so Welcome to Marwen. I don't know if you know any.
I know them both.
Yeah.
I haven't seen either, but I know them both.
Yeah, I've seen that, cool. And then I did watch something on Netflix, but that was that was when I was over at my mum's, and it was a film called A Prayer Before Dawn. But I think it was sort of might have been a couple of years old. But I just saw it and I thought, that looks interesting.
Okay.
So that's and probably what else? I must have seen some other stuff, but that's the majority stuff.
To you.
Okay. So
obviously it wasn't very good if I did.
It wasn't very good. It's okay.
Not if I did. The things I saw.
That might not be a big hitter for either Netflix or cinema, whichever one it was. All right, cool. How about you? How about you, Sharon? What did you see?
Yeah, the last 2 films I've seen at the cinema were, one was Tulip Fever. Okay. Which is a film that's been around for a long time. I mean, I remember seeing a trailer for it a long time ago.
That's been held back for like 5 years.
December.
Yeah.
Oh, it's been out there a long time. I mean, I was kept thinking, has it gone to DVD yet? Or, sorry, that dates me. Has it gone to streaming yet? Or has it gone, I thought, has it just bypassed the cinema? And then it appeared, and I thought, whoa, I'm sure that's an old film. But yeah, I saw Tulip Fever before, just in the tweeny bit. And I've just recently seen Mary Poppins Returns.
Mary Poppins Returns. Okay, cool. And I know that you have, for the purposes of this show, you've shown your what's the word? Your dedication, and you've actually dipped your toe into this crazy new streaming world, and you've gone and got yourself a trial Netflix subscription.
Yes, because you can get 1 month free, so you can see if you can suck it and see, basically. So I have, on the 1st of January, I signed up to Netflix.
Wow!
And I have dived straight in.
All right. So
so I have seen a couple of films and I did binge watch because I've only just gone back to work, so I had a week off work. So I managed to binge watch 2 series and I've watched about 3 films.
All right.
So binge watching was one of the rules, wasn't it? So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, because
that's good news.
In the first thing we had 3 rules. We said that, okay, first of all, if you're going to watch something that's Netflix or at home, it has to be something that you haven't seen before. If it's a TV series, you have to have finished the series. So if it's series 1 of, I don't know, The Walking Dead or something like that, you have to have finished that if you're going to talk about it on the show. You can't just come on the strength of 3 episodes.
Yes, because things just veer off halfway through sometimes. You start off loving it and then you go, oh, halfway through.
Yeah. You have to finish the story. And the third one was that we want to get as many Netflix originals in, or the original filmic content that's being made by these streaming things, by Netflix, by Amazon Prime, by all those sort of things. So what did you see? What did you see online?
So the films I saw online was one called July 22.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a Netflix original made for Netflix by, is it Paul Greengrass?
Paul Greengrass,
the director?
Paul Greengrass, yeah.
Yes, and it's based on the terror attacks in Norway, in which 78 people got killed in one day.
Yeah.
And this youth camp on the island of Utøya. So I saw that film, and I also saw one that was connected. I saw like 2 real life dramas. One was called 6 Days, and it was about the Iranian embassy siege and how the SAS took them down. Yeah. So I saw those 2 films, and I also saw Outlaw King. But I know you mentioned that before.
I mentioned, I've seen Outlaw King
in your groundbreaking episode. So I saw Outlaw King. So I know you've commented on that. And then the 2 binge watches. I binge watched The Last Kingdom because season 3, because it had been on BBC, and then I think Netflix bought the option for it, and so the season 3 and then season 4 they've just announced is going to be on Netflix. Either exclusively or, going to be premiered there. So I saw Last Kingdom, and I also saw, it's called a limited series, so I think it's obviously just the one, and it was called Godless, which is a Western series.
I heard of that.
So that's my binge watches and my films. I did actually see another film, which I almost hesitate to mention, but we talked about it on our previous show, but I did see The Kissing Booth. Because I'd heard so much about it. And I thought, if this is supposed to be the Breakfast Club for this generation, the millennials, then I thought, I need to see it. I thought it was awful, but it's not for me.
No.
I'll say,
but I did see it.
Young people, is it?
I'll say it wants to be the Breakfast Club of this generation. As I said, so much so that it cast Molly Ringwald and has Don't You Forget About Me.
Yes.
Oh,
and it's like a purely 80s, the half the soundtrack. I thought, hang on, they've been watching the Brat Pack films of the 80s. This guy, he knows his John Hughes, who made it. Yeah. But it just hasn't got the heart of those films, in my opinion.
Okay, cool. All right, good. So you went.
How about you, Guy? How about you?
What about you, Toes?
Yeah, what about you? What have you seen?
I haven't
You told us.
Okay, I've seen Welcome to Marwen.
You haven't seen nothing, have you?
I've seen Welcome to Marwen. I saw Bumblebee.
Oh, yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah.
I saw Bumblebee. I saw Aquaman.
Oh, I saw Aquaman.
We've got one thing in common.
I have seen something else.
That was before Christmas, though, wasn't it?
I'd forgotten about that.
Was it or not?
It was that good. I'd forgotten about it.
I think Aquaman was before Christmas over in England. Aquaman was before Christmas. So, I've seen Aquaman. And let's see, on Netflix, I think, Sharon, if you're talking about the sort of films that are trying to be like John Hughes, I would recommend a film called To All the Boys I've Loved Before.
Okay, I've seen that. on there. Because where I saw the kissing booth, it keeps sending me all these teen films. Because you watch this, you may want to watch this. And it's like, I really don't.
Well, I think...
But I might try that one then.
I think I've already seen... I prefer that to the kissing booth. But I think already I spot a problem we're going to have. Because when we were just doing a cinema show, we would just go, okay, what's on the cinema? And because of time restrictions and all that, and because of space restrictions, you only really have a couple of new films at the cinema each week that you can go watch. However, on Netflix, it's endless. So already,
yes, it's there.
I think we have like a list of 15 films on here that we're going to try and crab it. We're going to try.
That's it. Yeah, but that's quite good because we don't have to. We can just say a little bit about keeps us focused, and we can give our quick thoughts.
Okay, so let's kick off.
Aquaman.
Yeah, let's kick off with the only film all of us have seen, and so,
even though we'd forgotten we had.
You guys did. To be honest with you, I almost did. I almost forgot I did. But so.
Shall I go first on this one?
Yeah. So coming out of its corner, swinging, its cinema with its opening salvo, Aquaman. Sean, go for it.
Okay, yeah. I thought the CGI was quite good in this. I really liked the big battle scenes, but I didn't. From a personal point of view, it didn't grab me. I thought Wonder Woman was much better. I have heard some people say that they thought this was better than Wonder Woman. For me, personally, I'm afraid it just didn't do it. I don't know about you, Sharon. It depends how quick we're going to move pretty fast because I want to know about Godless and some of those Netflix
will
stuff.
Put my cards on the table. I went to see Aquaman for mainly superficial reasons.
Whatever could you mean?
Who would you choose out of him or The Rock? Jason Momoa.
I'd probably go for The Rock.
Okay. So anyway,
he has a twinkle. I'd like his twinkle.
Okay.
And that's not a euphemism. Let's get it out there.
Okay, all right. So I would... So with this, I think, okay, for those of people who don't know, Aquaman is the new superhero movie in the DC universe. So this is where Batman is. This is where Superman is. Because I know all of us are kind of like into our comic stuff, but I know that there's a couple of people who still don't know their Marvel from their DC. So if you're talking Captain America, Iron Man, Avengers, that's Marvel. If you're talking Superman, Batman, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, that's DC. So and DC have had a really, really bad run. They have had a really, really bad run recently of trying to catch up with Marvel and everything they're doing. And I think Batman vs. Superman, you can hear numerous shows of us just sort of like laying into that film. Justice League was a disappointment. And Aquaman, I think, was kind of like, there were like zero expectations for this film. Zero expectations for this when they released it. And I think, to their credit, the director knows about this, and I feel like they've left the director to do his stuff. So it's James Wan who directed, I think, Fast and Furious 7. And
I wasn't keen on that. And I'm not keen on any of the Fast and Furious, to be fair.
You're a Fast and Furious hater.
I am. Except for Tokyo Drift.
Apart from Tokyo Drift, okay. And it's so this is James Wan. He directed number 7, and he's done the Conjuring films and all that. And to their credit, I feel as if they're a little bit in on the joke in this film. And this film has, I remember I wrote a Facebook post after I watched this film, and it was just kind of like, going on about, well, pretty much everything that's wrong with it. But at the same time, even though I have all these things, okay, this is what I wrote. I wrote, the dialogue is terrible. Whole swathes of this film are just exposition. It's better when they're not talking and you can just focus on the pretty pictures. It does things that have already been done in better superhero movies this year. That's 2018. I genuinely was not surprised once by this film. It randomly tries to become a romantic comedy about an hour into the film. And it's the lesser of the Randall Park and minor role superhero movies of the year. The better one being Ant-Man and the Wasp. But I would still recommend it. It was good fun. Some kids actually applauded when the film ended. And the way I put it to a friend is like, I'm not sure whether I liked it or not, but I did enjoy it.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. I think it was fun and forgettable.
Yeah. Fun and forgettable. That is
so I think, so I enjoyed it while it lasted. I didn't, overthink it, and it probably was gone out of my head by the time I walked home. But it was, you can't fault it for saying, it wasn't badly done. It's just, for me, it was just superficial on almost every level.
Okay. It was, as far as it was better than Suicide Squad, better than Batman v Superman, and better than Justice League.
No. Suicide Squad is by far the most. That's my favourite DC movie. Way better than Justice League. Wonder Woman, probably Wonder Woman, Suicide Squad. A lot of people hate it, and I know the CGI at the end with the thing was a bit bad, but I just really, really like Suicide Squad, and I hopefully there'll be another one. And and for all you haters of Jay Leto's Joker, I love him. I think he's absolutely brilliant as the Joker. Sorry about that.
For me, I would have to say it's, I think in no particular order, the good ones are Wonder Woman, the first half of Man of Steel, and Aquaman, and the ones I don't like.
Man of Steel's good.
Yeah. I think the first half of Man of Steel, I have a lot of love for the first half of Man of Steel, and the ones I don't like is definitely Batman vs Superman at the bottom, Justice League, and Suicide Squad. I mean, when I watched it, I was like, oh, it's all right enough, but the more I think about it, the more that film annoys me.
I remembered. I'm going to go off on one of my tangents here. I remembered what I saw over Christmas.
Yeah.
Which I saw, and I think we did it on a previous show, and I said how much I hated it, and I thought I'm going to be forgiving, and I'm going to watch this film again, and it was just on TV. I'm going to watch this film again, and I'm going to see it if I can be that forgiven. And that was War for Planet of the Apes, and I hated it even more, and it got me really, really angry, and I really, really loathe that film. So that was the other one I want to say about.
Okay,
sorry, let's go back to Aquaman.
Take a breath.
Sean, it's gone. It's gone.
It's gone. It's history.
Films you haven't seen before. Let it go.
But sometimes you can watch a film again and see that you can be a bit more forgiving.
It
and I must say, I was thinking because of that Justice League, I did actually. Justice League, or was it? I don't know. I get confused. Sorry.
Yeah, because you see Batman and Superman again, and on the revisit, you thought it was better.
Yeah. I thought it still wasn't good, but it was better than seeing it the first time.
Yeah, I think sometimes you have to try to revisit when you go, oh, it was Marmite to me when you don't like Marmite.
Yeah.
So it's like a love-hate thing. And so sometimes you go, oh, it can't be that bad. If I watch it again, give it another go, maybe I'll come round to it. But some films are just still Marmite.
Yeah. Anyway.
So how many stars would you give Aquaman?
3.
Yeah, 3. I think this film is a nailed-on 3-star film. But it's there's some good performances in it. Well, mainly Jason Momoa, I think. Yeah,
because he's just likable, isn't he? He just comes across as being a likable guy.
He's likable. You can see you can almost see William Dafoe just collecting a check. But
yeah, that's it. Yeah, he's pretty. Yeah, really.
And I know Amber Heard is in, and people are sort of saying big things about her now, aren't they? But to me, she's one of those pretty faces that I don't really. If you put her in a different wig, I probably wouldn't recognise her. I think she's a very attractive lady, but she doesn't have that sort of spark that I think puts her in the league where you'll go, oh, what's she in again? And I'll look out for her because I thought she was good in it. But to me, again, I would probably forget her before the next film she does.
I know it might be a horrible thing to say, but I do have serious trouble recognizing Amber Heard. I know I've seen a couple of films she's in, and each time I'm like, who is that?
Do I know her? Yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, oh yeah, I recognize that name. All right. Okay, cool. So let's carry on. Let's crack on with next film up. This is another cinema one. What?
Oh, another cinema one, yeah. Should we not do a Netflix one? Because I'm dying to know.
Okay, cool. Let's do a Netflix
Can
one.
we do Godless?
Let's do Godless.
Can we do Godless?
So, Sharon, you watched the entire season
I saw the whole thing. Yeah, I think it's only 8 or 10 episodes. But it's like a one-off thing. And it's set in the post-Civil War America, so early 1860s. And there are still these sort of bands of guerrilla people who formed these. The start of the American outlaw was, started after the Civil War when you had these gangs of what were guerrillas before the bushwhackers and other people, and they created these gangs. And one of these big gangs has basically been holding towns to terror. And the series starts off with basically a massacre in this railroad town, and you don't know what triggered it, but they turn up and they find this mining town, and they find everyone in the town is dead and the town has been burnt to the ground. And the one witness there identifies the gang leader as being responsible for it. And then it sort of goes on from there. And then you see this other town, believably unrelated, called La Balle. And La Balle is a mining town where 2 years previously to the story beginning, all of the men of the town were killed in a mining accident. And so basically it's a town of 4 old men, a teenage boy, and 86 widows.
86 widows.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And so you see these parallel stories. You see the story of the gang, and then you see the story of the town, and the stories converge when one of a former gang member decides that he's going to leave the gang because he's just had enough of the senseless killing and the violence and the...
Is there a lot of action in this?
That's a lot of action.
Lot of
quite
action,
gory.
good.
Quite distressing in places. And so, there's a lot of action. So this one gang member, who's played by Jack O'Connell, he basically sets out on his own. They have a gunfight and he's wounded, and he ends up in this ranch outside of La Balle, where the lady who owns it takes him in. She's also a widow. And she's played by, who was in Downton Abbey?
Michelle Dockery.
Michelle, that's the one. She's in it. So all these British actors are in it, playing Americans. And so she takes him in, and then her story unfolds, his story unfolds, and then you get the stories converge. And the leader of the gang, who is just the most vicious, awful person, is played by one of the most likeable actors on the planet, Jeff Daniels.
Oh, Jeff Daniels.
And
he's a nice guy.
Ruthless and vicious and hateful in this. He's just nuts, but he's so charismatic. So you've got this converging, then you have this sort of violent catharsis at the end of the season.
Sounds
You've got this build up of stories that unfold, the stories of each of the characters sort of gets built upon, and people you immediately dismiss is like, you have this pretty school teacher, and it's like, oh, typical pretty school mom. Turns out she's an ex-prostitute and she's the wealthiest woman in the town. So every character who you think are going to be like Wild West stereotypes, they have layers, and then you unpeel the layer and you find they've all got their own stories to tell.
That sounds
and
excellent.
It's just revealed through the series, and it's just really well done.
Good, because we like westerns, don't we?
Yeah,
we like westerns. Yeah, I like the look of this. I was just looking at some reviews, and they're like 10s and 9s, and on IMDb.
It keeps you going, because I watched it over 2 days. Wow. So I watched all 10 episodes over 2 days.
Oh, brilliant. Sounds good. See, I'm tempted to maybe get a Netflix subscription for this one.
Yes, it's free for a month.
Free for a month.
Yeah.
Well,
that could tempt me. That could tempt me.
Yeah, the thing is, this is the kind of show that I was surprised that Sean hasn't seen it yet already, because it's like it's just everything. It's like the Western, but it's also like, it seems revisionist. So it's not like it's not your old school. Oh, yeehaw! Look how great everything is. It's like horrible, and it's a hard life, and it gives me. I remember seeing bits of it. It gives me a very Deadwood vibe.
Yes, it does have that. It does have that vibe.
Okay, cool.
And it makes you realise, as a woman watching it, how few choices some of the women have in these towns.
Yeah.
And it all depends on the protection of men. So when these women are like protection, they're without protection in terms of that their menfolk aren't there. And you realise that in some ways how helpless some of the women are. And there's a certain scene that I won't tell you about, but it sort of it emphasises that to just a horrendous, horrific degree.
Right. Cool.
So wow, that's a change from down.
So 4 out of, I would give it a 4 out of 5 for me.
4 out of 5. So one Netflix. So
one Netflix at the moment. Netflix is.
I'll tell you what, guys. At the moment, I'm coming up with an Excel spreadsheet. So essentially, we're gonna go mathematic about this, and at the end, we're gonna sort of collate all these things and divide it by the number and see who has the greatest average score of everything that we said.
Okay.
Sound good?
That's fair.
All right, cool.
That's fair. Yeah.
All right.
That sounds fair.
So let's do a cinema one. How about Welcome to Marwen, Sean? What did you think of?
Welcome to Marwen. Welcome to Marwen. This should be interesting.
So you just want to say?
Do you want to go first on this one?
Okay, cool. I'll just give a quick thing about this. So this is a film that's directed by Robert Zemeckis. He of Back to the Future fame and all that. And this is a film based on a true story, and also based on a documentary about the true story about a guy who got attacked. A guy called Mark Hogenkamp, who got attacked by 5 people and got beaten to within an inch of his life. They really weren't sure whether he was going to survive or not. He's in the coma for 9 days, and when he comes out of the coma, he cannot remember anything. In his words, every single memory has been beaten out of his head. And so in him trying to sort of aid his recovery, and because he used to be an artist, but now because they've beaten him so bad, he can't actually write his own name anymore. He struggles to write because he has to learn how to walk again. He has to all these things, but he starts, instead of drawing art anymore, he starts going with these small marionette figures, and he builds a scale model of a Belgian village during World War II in his back garden, which he calls Marwen. And he goes into this fantasy world where he's imagining what's happening, and this because the chief doll is like called Hoagie, named after him, and they use really, really good performance capture so that all the dolls look like the people in the real life. So because every single doll in this town is based on somebody he's met in real life, that he sort of incorporates into this thing, and the guys who beat him up, they are shown as Nazis. So the guys they're shown as Nazis, and they keep coming and invading this town, and each time he tries to kill them, they keep coming back and all that. And so it has this dual thing where in real life you're following this guy as he's trying to come out from this thing where he got beaten and everything. And then in the fantasy, like you see all these, essentially it's like a rip-roaring 1950s World War II movie. that is all acted out by these dolls, which is
his own personal sort of Dirty Dozen or something.
Yeah, pretty much.
I guess. Yeah. Pretty much. So he takes pictures of he sets up the scenes, you know, with these style action figures, obviously. Action, you know, they're action man figures, and he sets up these scenes, and then it's almost like he goes in. So he tells a story, I mean, I think the transitions are really good for me.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know what you thought about the transitions, because I didn't really know what to expect. I was on the mainland and I wanted to go out for an evening, and I thought, oh, welcome to Marwen, because I'd never really seen any trailers or anything like that. I thought, I wonder what that's about. So it was a bit of a surprise because I knew nothing about this movie. And I really liked the idea. I thought it was great. And some of the characters were, you know, those transitions are really good, weren't they? And then gradually through the film, you see where these people sort of turned up, the people in his life, because, like, you know, the baddies, the bad guys, the Germans, you know, and he gets all these dolls, and like Tosin said, all the people that he's had contact through, and still has contact with, you know, they're all sort of dolls. They're all like in dolls. Yeah. So yeah.
So and I think there's bits of the film that are actually quite whimsical, and I really, really like, and I'm like, oh wow, this is going so well. The film is going, but I feel in the end it sort of like stretches it doesn't quite have the depth that you're thinking they're trying to stretch for.
Sure, yeah, I thought that as well. It was a little bit towards the end. You were starting to get a little bit. It was getting a little bit too much, you know. It was. Yeah.
It
started off. I mean, it started off great. It started off really, really good and really interesting. Really, you know, quite unique. Really, I thought. And then I agree with you on that, Tosin. It gradually, you know,
did it try to have too easy an answer, like too easy a solution for him? Because sometimes thinking these are like deep psychological issues, aren't they? And you can't just resolve it by, hey, he meets a nice girl and he gets a good job or something. You know, I haven't seen it, so you don't want them to wrap it up too neatly at the end.
But that's the problem, is that it almost kind of does that. It kind of goes into that. I mean, there's a couple of wrinkles on there, and there's a bit where you can see Robert Zemeckis having fun with his own back catalogue. There's a Back to the Future moment in there and everything. But what I would say is, this is probably the best use of performance capture that I think I've seen. Because
I agree. Yeah, no, I do. I agree. Totally.
Because, you know, they've talked about performance capture for years and everything like that. I'm going like, oh yeah, well, and the thing is, like, you know, like even with Avatar, which was the big one where they used performance capture, said, oh, photoreal aliens mixing with human characters, and I always felt like they didn't quite look the same. And I feel like in this, they've used it so that, because apart from one character, every single character in his make-believe world, Marwen, you know exactly who they are because it looks exactly like the actor. Yeah. It looks exactly like the actor, but you can see that obviously it's not. It's like and I was like, okay, this might actually be revolutionary because it's showing what performance capture can do and what space for performance capture has to do. So I really, really liked it for that. But I think in the end, it became just a 3-star film because I think some of the things that they did in the film, I was like, well, I think you're stretching. I think you're trying to be deeper than you haven't earned that depth, if you get what I mean. You haven't earned that sort of like. And it made me really want to watch the original documentary about the actual guy because I feel like there might have been more depth in that.
I totally agree with everything you said there, and I give it a 3 stars as well. All right, so yeah, cool. It's 2 stars because it was, you know, it wasn't 3 stars.
Yeah, but the cast is great. I love Steve Carell.
The cast is great. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, he does one of those things where when does the dramatic performances where he pulls himself in, he reins himself in, and I'm like, yeah, really like him in this.
I like the sort of the very first scene as well, where you see the bad guys, you know, like, because World War II, obviously you got the Germans confronting them, haven't you? And they were sort of laughing and saying, hey. So it's and then you find out what it's all about as the film goes on.
Yeah, the opening of the film is really, really good. The opening of the film is so boys' own adventure. It is so
definitely.
It's so boys' own adventure. It's okay, cool. So that's Welcome to Marwen. I mean, I would recommend it, and I know for people, I think this is one of these things where if you have been through something similar to what the character has been in the film, it might mean more to you. Because I saw somebody on Facebook and they were just raving about how great it was and talking about people who have had psychological scars and triggers and what can set them off and all that stuff. Like there's a bit where he has to go to court and face his attackers and he can't handle it and he runs out of the room. And in his head, they show what it's like in his head, and in his head is like a firefight. It's an absolute firefight, and he just has to get out of there. And meanwhile, everybody's going, Mr. Hogenkamp, is everything okay? That kind of stuff. So it's I liked it. I wished it was a little bit deeper, but I liked it. All right.
Sounds good.
Shall we fire on?
Yes.
Let's go with, now, July 22. Now, July 22, I'm really, really interested about this, Sharon, because this is a film that almost sort of like, it goes to the heart of what we're talking about here. So this is Paul Greengrass, he of the Jason Bourne movies.
He's like a cinematic director.
Exactly. He's a big deal. He's a big deal, and he wants to put this film together, and Netflix come in and go, hey, you, Mr. Big Deal, Mr. I don't think he's won an Oscar. But he's critically acclaimed. They're like, hey, come over here. It's like when we spoke about the Ballad of Buster Scruggs in the last episode, Sean. It's a similar thing. And Netflix go and say, filmmaker, come here. You want to make a film? We'll give you the money. Make a film. And he goes and makes this film, which it has a very limited release in cinemas, but is everywhere, available everywhere, all around the world on the same day on Netflix. And so how does this go?
Yeah, it goes through the events of the 22nd of July 2011, which in Norway it's just referred to like 9/11 is and whatever. It's known as the 22nd of July. That's just how everyone knows those attacks. But basically, a bomb was set off outside the Norwegian Prime Minister's offices, and 8 people were killed. And then the terrorist went to this island where basically it was a youth camp for children who are the equivalent of our Labour Party. Like they were having like a rally for all their young members, and he dressed as a police officer, posing as a police officer, got access to the island, and then proceeded to hunt them down, shoot them, and just killed over 60 children, because they're all teenagers on this island, and a number of the adult supervisors who were there as well. So he was absolutely brutal and merciless in the way he attacked these children.
Yeah.
And I think the controversial aspect of this film, I think I've read a little bit about it afterwards, is the fact that it shows it from his point of view. It goes very much about what his motivation was, what he was thinking, and it does give him a lot of airtime. But they try to balance that by focusing on one of the young people in particular. So you've got this Anders Breivik, who was a neo-Nazi, a far-right person but part of the films you're not quite sure whether he's, awfully sane or whether he is criminally insane. He's so cold and so detached from the reality of what he's done that you don't know whether to believe that he was originally assessed as being a paranoid schizophrenic. And then other people said, no, he's actually entirely responsible for what he's done, and he's quite sane. So you start off by seeing him preparing his bomb and preparing his weapons and then setting off and doing these awful things. And the first hour of the film is on the 22nd of July. So you see the bomb, you see different people sort of thinking, you know, they see the van parked there and are going, hey, what's that van? Is it supposed to be there? And it highlighted the flaws in the security system around these government buildings.
Yeah.
And then you see these young people having a bonfire and playing football and having a really good time on this camping holiday. And then you see him basically how calculated he was in how he dressed himself in this fake police uniform, how he had all the ID, he had all the bags, had all the gear, and he turns up at the island and they say, you probably heard on the news about this bomb. Well, I'm here to make sure the island is safe.
Oh,
and they go, well, okay. So they let him on the island, and then as soon as someone says, actually, I'm not quite happy with what you're telling me here, they say, could you just show me your ID? And, you know, who's your supervisor again, did you say? And then, boom, he starts firing. And because he's dressed as a police officer, some of the children run towards him.
Yeah.
And at one point, he goes into a classroom and you don't see it. But he goes, it's okay, it's the police. And they all come running towards him, and then you just hear gunfire. And it's one of the rooms in which no one survives.
Yeah, so from what I've heard about this film, the bit about it is what that's controversial about the film, and also I think it's quite controversial in real life. I heard Paul Greengrass in an interview with Empire magazine, and he was talking about the fact that for him, it was how Norway had to fight, because some people were like, we should just get rid of this guy, but they actually have a court case, which is documented in the film.
Half of the film is about the court case.
Yeah, and he says that as far as he's concerned, that's like, you know, it's for him, he made this film because he was like, look, this is them fighting for democracy. They didn't just say, obviously this guy is horrible, let's just lock him away. They said, no, we need to have a trial and we need to have this guy out there. So it seems like, the film isn't just all about the attack.
No, and it didn't end at the attack either, because when I paused it, because I know you take a break, it's so harrowing. I did take a break. Yeah. And I paused it, and it was halfway through the film, and I thought, hang on a minute, what's more to tell? You normally expect the words to come up on the screen, you know, on this date, this many people died, and this man was later convicted of. And it wasn't that. You then go to see what happens next. And I think that one of the positive things about it is one of the boys on the island was shot 5 times. He was shot like in both arms, both legs, and through the head, and Sheesh. he lost an eye, and he was protecting his younger brother, and he was shot shielding his brother, and then he told his brother, you know, you've got to run, you've got to get out of here, and then because the gunman was focused on him, it gave the others a chance to just run. Well, temporarily, as it turns out, because some of them are later shot as well. And then you see his recovery. You see him in hospital being told, you know, what's happened to his friends, and then to see him in his recovery. And then you follow his journey as they set about setting out the court case. And you see that, first of all, he's like saying, I don't want to have anything to do with him. I don't want to see him again. I don't want to have anything to do with this. But as part of his own recovery, he thought, no, I have to face him because he's in my nightmares every day. I want to see him. Yeah. You know, justice done. And then you see his testimony of, you know, I've had to learn to walk again. I've had to learn to speak again. I've had to learn to be a human again, to be a son and a brother without my friends, without feeling safe, without feeling, you know, like this is my country anymore. And so you see this Anders Breivik, but you also see it through the eyes of this young survivor. So it's quite a harrowing film, and it doesn't shy away from the court processes. The fact that he had a lawyer, and the lawyer, his solicitor, was basically chosen by Anders Breivik because he'd defended someone who had far-right leanings in the past, and he'd said at the time, this solicitor said, everyone has a right to a defence. And so when he was arrested, he said, I want this guy as my solicitor. And you see the cost to this guy, how his family are bullied, how he's told, you know, how can you possibly defend this monster? And how I'm saying that we need to present him as someone who is a monster, i.e. is insane, or to show him that this is Norway. You may be the monster by the fact that you've taken this action. We're not monsters. We're going to give you a fair trial, and we're going to make sure that you get a defence. We're going to make sure that you get treated fairly. Because there's one scene where he says, can I have some medical attention, please? When I shot someone in the head, a bit of their bone fragment cut my hand, and I don't want to get an infection. And you see this tiny little scratch on his hand, but then you do see them bringing someone, tend for him, take care of it, and they carry on with the interview. And you know that everyone in that room thinks they want to chop his hand off, but they treat him with dignity, the more dignity than he showed his victims. So I think, it's a harrowing film, but it probably needed to be made just to show that it doesn't matter how awful these people are, there's still a defence against them by being civilised at the end of the day. That hate doesn't win.
Yeah, the thing is, I like the message of what Paul Greengrass is trying to do, but each time I've thought of watching this film, I've just thought, I don't know, I don't think I want to do that. It's like, because it sounds like the kind of
it's made in English.
Yeah.
Sometimes because when I first thought, I thought if it was subtitled, it gives you a little bit of distance, and sometimes it makes it a bit easier to watch something like this if you're reading, because you create a barrier between you and what's happening. But it was all in Norwegian actors, but it was filmed in English.
Yeah.
And so again, I found it quite emotional at times. I really was I couldn't believe it, and part of me was thinking, how would I feel if that was a young friend, or if that was someone I knew in that situation? And you couldn't comprehend it. You just couldn't comprehend it.
Oh. So how many stars would you give this?
Again, I think I'd rate it highly, but I think with a codicil that, it is a harrowing watch, but I'd give it a 4 out of 5.
All right. Is this a bit like...
Another one?
Yeah.
Is this a bit like one of those films that you would say, I would watch once and then never again, or something like that?
Yes. Absolutely. I couldn't watch it again. I couldn't sit through it again. But it made me come away out of it sort of going, whoa. But thinking deeply about how do we deal with terrorism, and terrorists. Yeah. They're out there. What is your response? Is it go like, line them up and shoot them all? And you think, is that not just feeding into the hate? You have to have a response. And this man was given life imprisonment in solitary confinement. And I think that is a ghastly fate for anyone, quite frankly.
Yeah. Well, I might have to actually, gird my loins and go watch that film. Because,
it's a heavy one.
Yeah, I can only imagine. All right. So far, from what I can see, we I think Netflix has brought some big hitters to this game. Netflix has brought some massive big hitters to this game. So, Sean, now it is up to you to give cinema something to fight with, because this is a film. This is a film that is being spoken about for awards. Has actually won a couple of Golden Globes. It was the film that has been nominated for the highest number of BAFTAs for this year. And this is the favorite, and you're the only one who's seen it. So tell us.
Okay, the favorite. Well, what can we say about this film?
Poor old Queen Anne.
Yeah, Queen Anne. So this is in the time of Marlborough, obviously.
Yes.
And it's a period that I'm not particularly, you've got the 7 Years' War, which is like Barry Lyndon. And I don't know if people have seen Barry Lyndon. It's shot that way with some really fantastic scenes.
She was our last Stuart Queen. She was the end of her line.
Yeah. So
that line, that's
house.
Right.
So basically, it's this, and basically she's got the Duke of Marlborough's wife is like a confidant.
Who built Blenheim Palace.
Yes, and sort of is more or less running the show. And then this other lady turns up on the scene, this other girl, a cousin, and slowly worms her way into the affections of Queen Anne. And so Marlborough's wife sort of, becomes out of favour. And it's like a little bit of a rivalry. There's like a little bit of, lots of rivalry going on, really. So it's really, really well acted. And I did actually, after this, I did go and do some research, and they are based on real characters. Yeah. It's based, the real...
If you've ever been to Blenheim, you find a lot about Sarah Churchill.
Yeah, because she was quite a powerful figure, wasn't she, really?
Yeah. She built Blenheim, basically. Forget the Duke.
The Duke, well, that's it. And all the time, she's trying to promote the Dukes. She's trying to promote the Dukes. We must send more men. We must send his interests and all that. And it's all these alliances that are formed, and it's the rivalry. And I mean, I have to say, I know we're probably short on time. That, I think the reviews about this film are great. I mean, the acting's superb. The acting is absolutely superb. All the characters are believable, and it hits all the right spots. Sometimes I think it was trying to be a little bit too Barry Lyndon-ish with some of the big, the different lenses that they were shooting the lenses and some of the rooms and some of the locations. So there was very much, I think it's quite a period piece.
Yeah.
The acting's terrific. Yeah, because
Olivia Colman, I mean, she's just having she's just having a great time, quite frankly. And why not?
Yeah.
Because she's one of these you know how it is when you see an actor and you sort of adopt them and you sort of take them into your heart and you're like, I just want to see good things happen for them. And I think Olivia Colman is definitely one of those for me. She's one of those who I just look at and I go, I just want to see great things happen for Olivia Colman. And I think finally people in America are beginning to actually notice her. Even though someone on Twitter, I saw they put something up and they went, it doesn't matter how many awards she wins, this will always be her greatest role. And it's a video of an advert she was in, where it was an advert for years ago. And I remember the advert, I never realized it was her. And it's where this somebody pulls up at a stoplight, and a couple pull up at a stoplight, another couple pull up at a stoplight, and they look across and it's the same couple seeing themselves. But one of them are like, in a really, really nice posh car, and the other ones aren't. And it's Olivia Colman who plays the woman in the couple. And I was like, oh my God, it was like before they were famous, look at her. But I think she's an amazing, amazing actress, and anything she's in, I am there for.
Yeah. As I say, I don't think we've got a lot of time left, have we, Tosin?
Well, we've been talking for 53 minutes and we have done 6 films. So, by my
right, okay. Oh, right. So we've got a few more things to do then.
Yeah.
But I would say I won't go on too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't go on too much about this, but just to say that people probably need to go and see it. This is a 4-star film.
It's certainly worth a watch.
It's certainly worth a watch. I think you'd enjoy it, Sharon.
Yeah,
I think you would. This would be your sort of film.
Yeah, it's one of those films I was going to see, but it's got a 15 rating that made me hesitate with going to see with some of my friends. Wow. But another friend who's like, yeah, we'll watch it.
Yeah, I mean, they do insinuate that there's, a bit more to the relationships, more intimacy than just advice, you know, so that, and there is quite a lot of that, so that could upset some people. Yeah. Exactly right.
Because most of us who know anything about Queen Anne at all, it's like her many pregnancies and her miscarriages and then their stillbirths and the loss of all her children. So she's sort of cut to a sad figure as well. Does she sort of cut as a sad figure?
She is, yeah. She is. She's very.
But there's still there's sort of moments of lightness in it.
Yeah, there's a moment of lightness in it where it's quite funny. But yeah, she's definitely. You do feel really, really sorry for her, you know, because she's sort of between a rock and a hard place. She's trying to manage
pregnancies
these
1 year after. Is it 17 or 19 pregnancies?
17, I think.
Yeah,
17, and there is some rabbits in it, which probably they wouldn't. I think during that time, rabbits would have been pests,
or just food.
Just food.
I think because she had 17 sort of like lost children, and in the film she has 17 rabbits.
Yeah.
So
that's it.
Yeah, and I think that was supposed to be like a symbolism thing. And,
yes.
Okay, so by the way,
got a
Sharon,
couple more to do.
But you give it a 4.
Yeah, I'll give it a 4. So it's a big 4-star. And Sharon hope to see it, but it might come on Netflix. I definitely
want to see it.
You might come on Netflix if you miss it. Yeah. So you can let us know. You can let us know what you thought.
Okay.
Because we always like that, don't we? When someone sees something late and says, "No, it's bloody rubbish. What the hell did you damn it?" or yeah, you was exactly right. That was such a good movie. Yeah, we got some other things. So
yeah, we've had some epic fights. Yeah.
I don't know if we could. I don't know if you could do Mary Poppins for us. Could
Mary
you?
Poppins,
because I really want to know about this one, and I haven't seen it yet.
Okay, yeah. No, we'll do that. But that is, have you guys? How long have you guys got? I reckon I've got about 15 more minutes.
Yes.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
probably about 10 for me max. I should think.
All right, cool. Okay, Mary Poppins Returns. Let's go, Sharon.
Mary Poppins Returns. As the title suggests, this is Mary Poppins popping back into the lives of the Banks children. But they're not toty-wee things anymore. They've now grown up, and they're sort of what the children in the original film are now, well into their sort of adult years. And is it Michael?
Michael Banks.
Yes, Michael. He now he's widowed, and he now has 3 young children, and his life is falling apart. He took out an ill-advised loan, and basically the bank is saying, if you don't pay your loan, you've defaulted on payments for the last 3 months, and now the loan is due. You have 5 days to pay, or you lose everything. You will seize your house, and we will seize all your property as collateral against the loan. And so you then, the story ensues that, panic has filled the house, and the children are thinking, what can we do to sort of help the family? And the family are in desperate need. And the children one day running through the park because there's no groceries in the house, and they're sent out on an errand to buy some shopping, and they're given some money by their father, and they look at it and they sort of say, grown up beyond their years, that's not enough money, is it, to buy bread and to buy what we need? They said, no. Oh, well, we'll just have to ask for day-old bread and see what we can get with it. So they're these children who've lost the innocence or the carefreeness of their childhoods almost because of circumstances.
Oh, wow.
And so one of the little boys, he grabs, whilst they're looking for, different assets they believe they've got some shares in a bank, the big bank. And so they say, right, we need to find the share certificate. And whilst they're looking, Jane and Michael will go and start clearing out some of their childhood things. And they throw out the kite that they used to let's go fly a kite with.
Yeah.
They take that one out and they throw it away. But then a strong wind lifts the kite out of the rubbish bin and it goes tumbling through the park and it gets hooked up on a nanny. And then little Georgie Banks goes running after the kite, and then he starts to reel it in, helped by a lamplighter who just happens to be there. They reel in a nanny with the kite. And there comes back Mary Poppins.
All right. Okay, cool. So now, obviously, the big question with this film, because I think that's all you need to know as a setup, because the rest of the film, I think just hear anything else is just a spoiler. And who wants to spoil that?
It's just it. Yeah, I can't give any more away.
Hopefully, it should be magical. But the real thing that everybody wants to know is, should they have bothered? Should they have gone back and touched Mary Poppins? Should they have touched a classic?
Well, I was quite sceptical at the beginning because I thought, why bother? But then I looked and thought, well, actually, there are about 6 or 7 Mary Poppins books.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of material out there to do, more Mary Poppins stuff.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, have they got the right actress? Have they got the right sort of setup? And at the beginning, I thought Mary Poppins' accent, Emily Blunt, when she was doing the whole Mary Poppins voice, to me it felt a little bit forced.
Yep.
And I thought, this doesn't sound like this is your natural speech pattern. To me, it sounded a little bit too much. But apart from that, I thought, it has that same joyfulness, that same fantastical elements of it, where they have adventures, and the music is sort of skippy. You can imagine yourself skipping to many of the songs in this film, and so I think it does capture the feel of it. But I think with all these things, we tend to be a little bit precious about original films that are much beloved.
Yeah.
But I think there was certainly
Nostalgic.
scope in the original material to say, there is more to Mary Poppins than just the one book. Though I haven't read them all, though I do believe people think some of them are better than others of the books.
Always.
But they certainly is. There is quite a lot of scope there to expand the Mary Poppins universe. But yes, the children are very good. Emily Blunt, once you get used to, are very good. Some of the cameos are corkers. Others, not quite so much. And there's the occasional really ropey accent. So it is Mary Poppins.
It is Disney's Mary Poppins. So how many stars?
So how many stars?
Oh, I think I'd probably have to give it a 4 as well. I'm 4s all the way tonight.
There you are. Yeah, you've been lucky. You've had a good 4.
What's the bingo calling for all the 4s? Is it just all the 4s?
I have no idea.
It's all the 4s then.
All the 4s,
so it's 4.
Yeah.
Oh,
devil's
clickety click.
Score, clickety
4.
click. Yeah.
I've got no idea. I don't know what the
Scores on the doors, 44s. But
that'll do.
All right, cool. So, Sean, Prayer Before Dawn.
A Prayer Before Dawn. All right. Okay. Yeah. This was a film that I saw, obviously on Netflix, and it's basically based on a true story of a guy that gets banged up in a prison in Thailand.
Oh yeah.
And it is, yeah. So, and it's how he sort of works his way out through Thai boxing, but the prison scenes are really, really quite extreme. It's quite an extreme movie.
Midnight Express extreme.
Yeah, more
okay.
more than that,
Wow.
I would say. But it was a yeah. I mean, it was a really powerful movie, and it's quite violent and it's quite nasty, and I never, ever want to go to prison anywhere in one of those countries. So
Unless
it's
Bridget
puts you right
Jones,
off.
she had quite a nice time, if I remember.
Bridget Jones.
Bridget Jones, the second one, she ends up in
She ended up
prison.
in a prison in Thailand.
In Thailand, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
She quite enjoyed it.
Yeah. So this is based on a true story, and it's so he gets
That's borderline. Enjoyed is borderline.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sure.
Yeah, go on. Yeah, and it's based on a true story because the guy turns up. Actually, funny enough, you say Midnight Express. There's a scene at the end where, like, the guy's in prison and his father turns up, and the guy playing his father is the actual guy that was
oh wow,
was actually that all this stuff happened to. You know what I mean? But I mean, it's brutal. It's a brutal movie.
Oh, good.
But it's believable as well.
I remember them talking about this film. It wasn't in cinemas for long.
So I was going to say, I just sort of I thought that would be quite interesting to see, you know. So I watched it, and because I mean, sometimes when like we're saying, like if you watch a film on TV, you can do other stuff, which I sometimes tend to do. You know, I like make a cup of tea, or being as it was sort of Christmas time, eat chocolates or stuff like that. But I was actually really focused on this movie, and. I mean, I don't know if they tie people in prison, if it was a real prison, but it seemed pretty authentic, you know. And they're like, because they don't have individual cells, they have like big doors where they, you know, and like there's this hierarchy, and they're just like real bullies and all sorts of nasty things.
Sean, should I just go ahead and put 4 down for this?
Put 4 down for that.
Right, cool, good stuff.
But it probably wouldn't be everybody's cup of tea.
Yeah, I can imagine. Okay, so Sharon, Last Kingdom, series 3 and 4. Quickly, so this used to be on the BBC. Netflix went and grabbed it.
Yeah, based on a series of books by Bernard Cornwell about the life of Uhtred, son of Uhtred of Babenberg, who is a Saxon-born noble who was captured and raised as a Dane, and now was taken. He was born in a Christian Saxon household, and then was enslaved in a Danish household, and he became an adopted son. So he's taken on like their pagan religions and their pagan ways. Yeah. And basically he was dispossessed and he's headed south, and he's joined up with Alfred in Wessex, and he's become a sworn man of Alfred, and so he's fought alongside him, and this is the continued adventures of Uhtred.
Yeah. So I'm guessing that this is something that if someone was a fan of it, they would have watched seasons 1 and 2. So, and you've watched seasons 1 and 2. So, 3 and 4. What did you think? I'm just thinking of Sean because I know Sean, you got ahead.
Yeah. No, that's it. But I was just saying, I did see the ones when it was on BBC. I actually watched this because I like the Alfred thing. Hated Alfred in this. Sorry.
He isn't Alfred the Great as we know him.
No, he isn't Alfred the Great.
Yeah. So this is basically set 5 years after the last season, and it's sort of more Danes invading Wessex or planning to invade Wessex. It's like the Great Army versus like the Saxons holding out in Wessex and, you know, building up their alliances with Mercia and sort of fighting this sort of the Danelaw basically. So yeah, if you like that world, that sort of dark ages as we know it, because, you know, a lot of it wasn't written down till later. So it's an interesting. So I like that period of history, and I find it interesting. So I enjoyed it.
Has Alfred toughened up?
No,
he hasn't toughened up.
Okay, so you see, everything you said right now, I am as clueless as I was when people were talking about all the different areas in Game of Thrones before I watched a simple episode. I was like, yeah, sound, Tolkien place, Tolkien sound in place, yeah, whatever. So how many stars? How many stars would you give it?
I'd say it's enjoyable. I'd give it a 3. It's nothing. It's not Shakespeare, but it's, you know, it's enjoyable. So 3.
All right, cool. And I think our final Netflix is 6 Days. What do you? So quickly, Sharon, what do you think about this? So you already explained that it's about the SAS,
the Iranian embassy siege, how the SAS see it. So because most of this has been classified for many, many years, for the first time, I think in the last few years, they've actually started to name some of the people who are involved in this operation. Yep. And so you see it from it's a 3-handed approach. You see it from the viewpoint of the police and the negotiators. You see it from the viewpoint of the hostage takers. Yep. And then you see it from the viewpoint of the SAS and how the 3 stories interact. So how the SAS operation was planned and then executed, how the police tried to prevent bloodshed by negotiating, and then how the hostage takers kept trying to, you know, make all these demands. and they were being strung along, basically. They were told, we'll get you a bus. We'll get you a flight to wherever you want to go. We'll release all your political prisoners. And then as soon as they're like off the phone, the police said, there's no way they're getting a bus. There's no way they're getting on a plane. And there's no way they are getting anyone released. And so it's basically how to not get everyone inside the embassy killed, because you think, we can't let them know that, but they're not going to get anything. And so all the time they're negotiating, the SAS are then preparing. They've built a model of the embassy in like this warehouse. And they're planning the raids.
I remember this actual happening.
So it looked like it was all spur of the moment, but it was so meticulously planned. And so they were in there, and it was sorted out within half an hour. It was dealt with, boom. But it shows how meticulous they were in planning the relief of the hostage siege, with the loss of, I think, no hostages were killed when they tried to free them, but 2 had been killed during the process of the siege. But they managed to take out all of the hostage takers, bar 1 who was arrested. All the others were killed by the storming by the SAS. So it's basically,
and that's a Netflix
by the
one,
numbers. It's a Netflix film.
Netflix film.
Jamie Bowell plays Rusty, who's the SAS guy.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Mark Strong plays the police superintendent, negotiator.
Mark Strong.
And there is a recognisable. I don't recognise the guy who played the head hostage taker, but I just couldn't place him. But so they're there. That the 3 main leads are recognisable.
Okay, and but
the guy, they have it from the point of view as well, of Kate Adie and the BBC reporting of it, because that made a big part in the whole telling of the story.
Yeah.
And the person who played Kate Adie, Abbie Cornish, was dreadful. It was the worst impression of Kate Adie I've ever seen. That was the down point, because every time she appeared on screen, I'm thinking, that is just so not Kate Adie. But if you didn't know her, it's fine. But because we know she's part of our, she's iconic, isn't she?
Yeah.
Her accent, it just was so forced, and it was so, that was the only down point of the whole thing.
Okay,
How many stars then?
Yeah.
3.
Okay, because that's a film that also didn't spend that long in cinemas. All right, cool. And Tulip Fever. This is a film that has been delayed for about 5 years. Was it worth the wait? Quickly.
I don't think so. I think it would have been better on television as a miniseries, and they spread it out a bit. I think they tried to squash too much into the time they had, and so it didn't really feel like it was well developed at all. So it's basically, I'd give that a 3 as well.
3. All right, cool. Good stuff. And so that leaves me with Bumblebee and To All the Boys I've Loved Before. So Bumblebee...
Phew. Ready, steady, go.
Yeah, Bumblebee is a film. This is the new Transformers movie. And all I can say is that there is more joy packed into the first 5 minutes of this film than there is in 5 Michael Bay Transformers movies. That is that is my review. There's bits of this where you go, yay! But there's bits of it where I think it drags a bit. I would give it a 3. And To All the Boys I've Loved Before. Now, this is a film that's on Netflix. It was a really, really popular novel. I think Netflix, this is what they're doing. They're taking really popular novels and that Hollywood isn't really looking at and going, yeah, we'll give you money, make a film. And I know with this film, there was a lot of rubber fighting about whether they wanted to actually cast the original actress as she was in the book, which is she was half Korean, half Caucasian. Or Hollywood wanted to turn her white. Netflix said, no, we'll let her be half Korean, half Caucasian. They went there. It's quite a good film. It's quite a good teen comedy. I would say 3. I can't really tell you what's about it, but I'll say go watch it anyway. All right, cool. And now with Sean legging it out of the door, it is time to give us a verdict in this round. We've had this has been 12 rounds. We've had 12 rounds of this ding dong battle. Don't worry, next week will be fewer films, I promise. And I
think I need to be sponged off.
Yeah.
I'm planning to see. Okay, I've been collating the scores as we've been going along, and guys, this is close. This is close. So between these two films, we have an average. One of them has an average of 3.5, and and another one has an average of 3.3.
Wow.
Yeah, 3.3.
Wow.
And the winner this week is Netflix.
I was going to say Netflix, right? Okay.
Yeah. So apparently over the
a close call.
It was a close call. But the winner this week is that Netflix. We had more fun with what we saw on Netflix than we did in the cinema. But I think that there's a lot to unpack that we can do next week. But I think we've taken a lot of time. Sean, you have to leg it off. Thank you so much.
I do. I have to go. That's all right.
We'll see you guys again next week.
See you soon. Yeah.
Yeah. See you later.
Yeah, when I plan to be watching Roma by Alfonso Cuarón, which is on Netflix, which is being yelled about for Oscars yet again. Oh, good Lord. Anyway, until then, see you guys. Good night.
Bye.
Sean?
Yep.
We're still here.
Oh, no, I thought Sean had already gone. I thought Sean was going to say goodbye.
No, I'm still here because we've got to do a couple of bits and bobbins, haven't we?
Okay, cool.
All right.
Okay, so Sean, you're going to go say goodbye?
Yeah, I'm going to. I'll say goodbye now. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, see you guys.
Bye.